What's up everyone, this is Donnie aka Elevated, and thank you for tuning into another video here on Dota Alchemy. This is kind of just an impromptu, almost vlog piece of content that I wanted to make. It is September 19th, that means that the ranks have reset. You have to play 10 calibration games to get your MMR back, find out what your new MMR is, depending on whether you win or lose. And so I just wanted to make this video. There's going to be some clips after my little monologue that are the top tips from our previous recalibration videos. A lot of those are still very true. And why I wanted to make this video is that I have had trouble following my own advice in the past. And so I wanted to make sort of like a before and after calibration video. This is the before period, obviously. And I wanted to just kind of lay out my plan for calibrating so that when I finish calibrating, I can come back to this video and see how well I followed my own advice, because I think that is very key for me. I need to hold myself accountable. I give this advice, I do it for a little bit, and then I'm like, I just want to see my MMR, and then I play like 7 games in a row, regardless of whether I'm feeling tired, regardless of whether I'm picking heroes that I think are good, regardless of whether I'm tilted or not, because I just want to see that number and get it back. And in this case, that is going to be my number one tip, is don't play all of your games in a rush to see that number. It doesn't matter. It's going to be there in 10 games anyway. Take your time and do the right things that will allow you to calibrate successfully, because what's the point in losing 10 games and then spending the next 3 or 4 months trying to climb back to where you know that you can be on the MMR spectrum? Also, real quick, before we get into those clips, I just wanted to say that the Dota Alchemy shirts, the first wave of them are out. You can see I'm wearing one of them right now. We have 3 different designs. I spent a bunch of time on this. I got a couple designers involved. I had, I just had this idea that I really want my own clothes. I want to make my own stuff, and I want to put out something for people that have been asking about merch as well, and just kind of put out 3 fairly simple but heartfelt designs that I have been working on for the last couple of months and trying to figure out what the best vendor is to get them to people. So you can check out all 3 designs. They're individual, linked in the description below. I would love it if you would pick up a piece of merch, wear it. If not, that's totally fine. There is no pressure. But if you are somebody who wants to support the channel, or you've been wanting some Dota Alchemy merch that you can kind of wear and that doesn't look overtly Dota and nerdy, check it out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the tips that I think everybody should follow when you are recalibrating.
My first rule, and arguably the most important rule for me, is to play only 3 or so heroes. So really, really restrict my hero list, even if it's boring. In my recalibration games in particular, I basically plan on playing as if it's a competitive match, which means I'm going to pick the absolute best hero possible, even if it's boring. I'm going to try my hardest, even if the game is very toxic, and I'm going to think actively about the game, all game. No alt tabs, no Steam messages, nothing like that. Complete focus on the game. And the final rule is, if I lose 1 game, I'm going to stop queuing for at least 10 minutes, especially if there are griefers, flamers, or players that I don't mesh with in the game. And the intent of this is twofold. I want, number 1, to mentally reset myself from an otherwise frustrating game, so I don't go into another game and then play based on emotion instead of logic, or play based on what should have happened in the previous game instead of just objectively thinking about the new game. And number 2, I want to avoid a queue cycle with the same players that just resulted in a bad game. First thing that I did differently during my 10 calibration matches that I know other people didn't do, and it's also something that most people are uncomfortable doing in general, including me, is that I tried really, really hard during the picking phase. And by that, I mean I didn't pick heroes that I necessarily thought were fun. I wasn't playing Dota for fun. I didn't first pick my hero because I had an ego and it's like, oh, I can win the game anyway. I picked basically the best hero possible in the best position possible. Even if that means last picking like a Huskar or a Meepo or a Broodmother, it doesn't matter. Calibration games are worth so much that it's worth it to do that.
Pick well-rounded heroes. What is a well-rounded hero? Well, in Dota 2, there's a lot of sort of jobs that are required to have happen to win the game. For example, you need heroes to push creep waves, you need heroes to hit towers, you need heroes to kill other heroes. Sometimes you need heroes to save heroes, and other times you need heroes to secure vision. So having a hero on your team that does multiple of these jobs makes a game much easier. This is especially true if you have a bunch of other heroes on your team or players who are not doing their jobs very well. So picking a hero like Undying and then having a team that refuses to push towers or clear creep waves can be a really frustrating experience. Try to include at least some team early game items in your build, if possible. For example, try to build an item like a drums or a Vlad's or a pipe or a Crimson Guard or an Urn of Shadows or a mechanism or even a Ring of Aquila. And the reason for having these items in your build is, one, it's not greedy. We've talked about how being greedy with your build is not a good idea usually. But more importantly than that, having these team items encourages your team to play together and actually take objectives after taking fights. Not only will these items help you in fights, but how many times have you played a game where you win a fight, but you barely win that fight? And your entire team, instead of taking the tower that's free, because you killed their entire team, goes back to Fountain to heal because they're at 5 or 10% HP. Or they go to the jungle and try to farm safely in the jungle because they don't want to show on map at 5 or 10% HP. Counter the most annoying hero on the other team by yourself, if possible. And the reason that I say do this yourself is because if you can make yourself have a good game because the most annoying hero or the hero that would annoy you personally the most is not annoying, then you're going to play a lot better and you're going to be able to contribute more to your team. And if you cannot wait and counter them through draft, then build items that counter them and try to specifically target doing that in the game. And the final tip is that don't overthink what you are playing. Do not overthink what you're drafting. Do not overthink what you're doing while you're playing. Just play Dota. It's still Dota. These 10 games are going to feel like they are a lot more important than they actually are. It's just 10 more games of Dota. You've probably played thousands of games of Dota at this point. You're probably still good on the heroes that you played for those 1,000 games of Dota that you played previously. So if you get into a ranked game, and even if there's some fluctuation in the calibration, which there might be, let's say you win like 2 or 3 games, and then suddenly you're playing against much better people because the system is trying to figure out where you should slot in, don't overthink it. Continue picking the heroes that you're good at. Don't just start drafting like something that's meta because you're in a higher ranked game than you're used to despite not really playing that hero. That's a good way to lose your calibration matches. So just don't overthink it. You know, a lot of people will also start playing more scared in these games because they really don't want to die, because they don't want to lose. But remember, it's just another game of Dota 2. Play to win, play to push objectives, push the creep waves, do all the stuff that you would normally do to win a game of Dota, and you're going to have success.